All right, here we go. Go Sports Radio. Here with you on a Wednesday, baby. Late January, it is cold outside. Although, as you can tell, I did not make the trek to Borelli's in Long Beach. Paulie is there. Go Sports Radio, Borelli's Tap Room in Long Beach on the island for a Wednesday, very cold and chilly Wednesday here for us. As you can see, I'm at the home base. Sick kids happen. Paulie makes it happen down at Borelli's for today. Happy Wednesday, Paulie. How are you?
Good afternoon, my friend. Yes, it is getting cold, and they're predicting end of the world stuff next week here.
I saw that. They're saying
across
Sunday, right? Sunday's
Yeah.
supposed to be a bad day around here. It's supposed to get pretty ugly in terms of lots of snow. Now, I love how, Paulie, now look, when you're this many days out, they leave themselves a lot of gray area in terms of how this is going to go. So, and now I've even noticed this new thing the weather people do now where they have like a graphic that they put up that tells you what stage of predicting the storm they're in. So when they're like 5 to 6 days out, it's called one thing, and then 4 to 5 days out, it's another. They want to make sure that we're only in this stage, so you can't get mad at us if we're not right about it this far out. But obviously, at this point, they're telling you, for us, at least on the island, anywhere from like 3 to 4 inches to 1.5 feet to, I mean, that's a pretty big gap of leaving yourself not a lot of room. That's a large gap.
Yes, the scary thing is the ice they're talking about, this freeze over. So anyway, to all our Go Sports Radio listeners, pack up on the water, maybe have a generator ready, get the gas in the car.
Well,
just be ready to be down with some power and stuff like that.
Well, at least if it's going to be Sunday, you can kind of hunker down with the games. You've got the AFC and the NFC title game.
We don't lose power around here.
I guess we don't want that to happen. Let's not.
We're not going to talk doom and gloom here today, buddy. We got much fun stuff to talk about.
We have a ton of stuff to talk about. Of course, obviously, off of the NFL playoff games this past weekend, we now know who the final 4 teams are going to be for Sunday's championship games as we get one step closer to the Super Bowl. We've got Harbaugh introduced yesterday as the Giant coach. The Buffalo Bills have all kinds of things going on with them over the past 2 days since losing in Denver. So there's a lot to do. Islanders in Seattle tonight. How could we forget that? Strangers, tough couple nights out in L.A., up and down the freeway with Anaheim and L.A. Couldn't get a win either night. But as we stand, Paulie, a lot, as you said, to discuss. And I will start here just because it's kind of been the thing the last few weeks that we've kind of started these shows, especially the Wednesday shows with. And that is Harbaugh being introduced yesterday with the Giants. Mm-hmm. And then we'll get to some of the outcomes, brutal and otherwise, from this past weekend in the NFL. But I thought that listening to Harbaugh yesterday at the big carving board press conference out there at the Meadowlands, and everybody shows up and everybody's got the happy face on, Joe Shane and Harbaugh, Chris Mara, I thought did a really nice job. You heard everything that you want to hear in a press conference like that. You want to feel, and he doesn't have to, I've seen some people bring this up, doesn't have to sell himself. No, he doesn't, because he's a Super Bowl winning coach. You go by what you hear on the surface, Paulie, and I thought that Harbaugh was excellent on Tuesday being introduced. I thought he gave you what, listen, we're here to, we're going to turn this thing around, and we're going to be competitive, and we're going to get ourselves back to the New York Football Giant level that we want to be at. And I thought that, just like last week when we said what a great day it was that they hired him, I thought the next step of that was obviously this. And it was good to see him up there and behind that giant banner speaking as the head coach of the football team.
Yeah, it was refreshing. He said all the right things. It was I got to be honest with you, when you compare Dabo to Harbaugh, just as far as and they're different people, different personalities, but I always thought the Dabo press conferences were so painful to watch and listen. So on that aspect of it, seeing a pro like Harbaugh up there was just a breath of fresh air, and I think he was just short and sweet. I think the reality is there's a lot of work to do, and there wasn't any of these predictions and everything else. Just the usual, pomp and stance of when somebody gets a new gig anywhere. We've seen this. Coaches get hired at new places, and they're, promising this. We're going to work real hard and everything else. I just think, as Giants fans, as what's in place in terms of the young team and the pieces and the organization, respectability number one is great. I think all of us as a fan base now for Giants can just look forward to next season and see what happens. And I think there's an honest space now, 2 to 3 years, whereas, Dable had been here for a couple of years already too. So it's just kind of at the end of the rope here. So excited. Football, right? That was the word that was used often in the press conference. I watched the full press conference he did, and then I also watched his interview there on WFAN2, which I thought he was very just down to earth and straightforward, and really, like I said, excited to have him here. I think he's going to be great with the players. I think he's definitely, no doubt, going to be awesome with the press here. And he doesn't have to win right away. I think they just have to kind of just get going here. So look, they gotta, start hiring OCs and DCs right now, and start putting the rest of their coaching staff together. And I think all of us here as a fan base, it's exciting, it's new, it's fresh. Let's see who he brings in. Let's see how the draft goes, and then get ready for the summer and training camp and everything else. And let's, that first snap, in September is just going to be really exciting, and here we go, and we'll just go from there.
Look, I think that in terms of expectations, as you just said, I think that we do have to remember here, this is a team that's been regularly picking in like the top 5 of the draft for the last few years. Like this is not a situation where he's going to take a fringe team that just missed the playoffs and get them to, the NFC title game next year. Now, look, we've seen, quick turnarounds happen. I mean, you're watching them. You're watching New England, quick turnaround. You're watching. It's not impossible to do, but the expectations going in is I like what you're saying. It doesn't have to be, 13-4 next year and winning the NFC East. And man, I think he will get them to a competitive level where maybe they are a team, Paulie, that's hanging around, the 8, 9, 10 win level and maybe getting in the playoffs or sneaking in the playoffs next year. And I think that that's a nice jump to take from picking in the top 5 every single year. Now, Dable did that his first year too. Remember that. Dable came in and made the playoffs in his first season, and then it went down after that. I don't think that would happen with this guy. I think that you'll start to see the building blocks of what's going to be a very successful run for Harbaugh in New York. And that I think will start, and the pieces are there, and we'll see what pieces get added. I think the one thing they also hammered home is he's in charge, Paulie. That I know.
Well, I wanted to ask you, get your feedback on the whole. I mean, I thought that the way he was talking about Shane and that whole dynamic seemed to be a lot more positive than most people would have thought, especially going into this, and what Harbaugh's terms were going to be as far as being in charge and everything. And I think that, as you stated here, that's what he wants to be, and most people think that way. But what'd you feel from the press conference and how he kind of fondly talked about Shane?
I think that there's clearly, these two guys in the little amount of time that they have spent with each other, I think you can tell that there's, at the start at least, going to be a nice, healthy working relationship. But I feel like the grounds were very set by everybody who had a microphone in front of them that Harbaugh is he's the sheriff in town.
Yeah.
I mean, that was clearly made the case. And I know that Joe Shane, he did interviews yesterday, and he's, the guys on the Fan talked to him too. And, he got it with the reporters on the side. And he's like, listen, it is what it is. It's just a piece of paper on what it says. We're all doing this together. It's a collaborative effort. He even knows, yes, he's the general manager. Yes, he's going to have suggestions. Yes, he's probably even going to have some good ideas. But I don't think any of those things, Paulie, make it through unless Harbaugh goes, yep, you know what, Joe, I like that. Let's do that. So, and Harbaugh also let you know the reason why he fought so hard for having that direct line to ownership and to the Maras is that that's the setup that he had in Baltimore. That's the setup that he is comfortable with. And I don't have any problem with that either. We're going to talk about the Bills in a little bit, and their chain of command is about to change from what it's been over the last few years. So I think that you needed to do it for Harbaugh. It's worth doing it. I understand the Maras and the Tisches have done things a certain way during their entire ownership tenure. you needed to, once more time, broken record here, bring back the credibility and the stability. He will do that. And so what? He gets to skip over Joe Shane and talk directly to Chris Mara or whatever Mara he's got to talk to after. I thought Chris Mara did a good job too, Paulie. He's a guy who obviously in the past, he's had to take some point here with John Mara being sick. Chris Mara kind of had to be the point guy. He told that great story about how Coughlin gave him Harbaugh's number. And Coughlin was like, go down and talk to him. And he immediately went down and started the process. So I thought that for Chris Mara, who's going to have to take on a little bit more here, obviously with John being sick, I thought he did a really nice job yesterday too.
Yeah, no, I think just collectively, everybody involved the Giants organization. I did watch an interview with Coach Coughlin too, talking about how Harbaugh reached out to him and everything else. And this was I guess it's mutual, right, Mike? He wanted the job, and they all wanted him here. And it looks like, as far as, like I said, the fan base and the local media yesterday too, as far as their questions in the pool and the back and forth was really good. I thought it was really healthy, and it was just a breath of fresh air, I think, as for the Giants organization, and something to look forward to. And like I said, first snap, we'll see what happens, buddy. Hey, Mike, sorry to cut you off. You muted yourself, buddy.
How did I mute myself, Paulie? How did that happen? That happened?
It was like that moment from the Forrest Gump movie, when he's making the big speech. So,
and everybody just stopped. Yeah, everybody just stops.
And that's all I have to say about that. So jump back to.
That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, jump back to after I finish there.
Yeah. So all 4 games this weekend, I thought, look, there was a couple bad ones. There was a couple classics. That's what you get in a weekend with the NFL playoffs. We set ourselves up now. Denver and New England, Seattle and the Rams coming up on Sunday. Obviously, I think the first thing that I want to get to is Buffalo, Denver. For several reasons here.
How you holding up, pal?
Well, look, let's talk about the game first, and then we'll get into the aftermath of McDermott getting fired and this clown show press conference that Terry Pagula and Brandon Beane had this morning. We could get into that after, but let's talk about the game, which was an unbelievable game. 33-30, Denver wins in overtime, beats the Bills. We had controversial referee decisions in the overtime. Obviously, was it a catch? Was it an interception with Brandon Cooks going down there and McMillan on the Denver side? You had the 2 pass interference calls that put Denver down the field in overtime that ended it. I'm never, Paulie, going to be a guy that likes to blame the refs for my team losing. I honestly, I think it's weak. I think it's soft. There's been bad calls in sports since the dawn of time. There really has, in every sport, and unfortunately more and so in the NFL, it seems like. And they have an officiating problem? Yes, they do. Is there some gray area that I wish could be explained a little bit more on that play with Cooks, where they called it an interception? Considering I saw a very similar play with Devontae Adams and the Rams the next night, almost an identical play, you could say. Yes, I would. Do I think that McDermott was right after the game when he said, could they have at least gone over? Paulie, how many times during a game do they go and spend under that hood, the official talking to New York, looking at the play for what feels like sometimes several minutes, and it felt like a play of that magnitude deserved at minimum, even if they kept it as an interception, that play at minimum deserved an extra look over on the side. And it felt very rushed. It felt and I know they love to sell you this. We have expedited reviews now. And there was also somebody who brought up they were trying to push the game along because they were running late on the San Francisco. They would, trust me, they did not review the play because they're trying to get to the Seahawks and the Niners on Fox at 8:20. That was not why for whatever reason, Paulie, that play deserved an extra look. I think you'll agree with me on that. At least humor them and go over and look at the play. It looks so shady when you just go past it and you blow through it.
Not to cut you off, and I think, one thing in sports too, which, it'll never happen. but it would be intriguing to add post-game pressers by officiating crews.
Well,
to discuss or to at least answer those questions.
Yep.
You know, obviously, if it's a league mandate, you know, I mean, you can imagine the circus part of it that you're not going to get the answers for. But on a, you know, just on an instructional reason for, you know, just to explain what was the viewpoint, why did it go, why wasn't it viewed, what was the thought process there. But you know, we're never going to get those. That's never going to happen. And it's an unfortunate thing because these questions will never be answered, Mike.
No, they won't be answers. And the referees do a small conversation with a pool reporter after the game. So one guy, designated pool reporter from that city, gets to go in and ask the referees question, the head referee a question, which in this case was this Crook Sheffers. He got to go in and ask him. But like, I still like, it's all nonsense. It's puff. It's puffball. Like, it's not, you're never getting the hard answers.
No.
And all of the stooges around the league who are, you know, designed to back these guys up, and that is the replay officials that were not officials, the replay TV people that work for these networks who are never going to go against what their buddies on the field, and they're all friends because they're all former refs. This Steratore, who makes loads of money working for CBS, he was a ref forever, Paulie. You think him and Carl Sheffers haven't had a couple steak dinners at their referee meetings? Please. You think that Gene Steratore is going to go out and disagree with his buddy Carl Sheffers on the field? No shot is he going to do that. Mm-hmm. But that all being said, I am not blaming the referees. I just would have preferred a little bit of a longer look at that play. In fact, Paulie, I'm not going to lie to you. Like, the more I looked at it, even at first thought, it probably was an interception. I don't think that Cooks secured the ball. I think he was coming down and the ball was, you know, it was jarred and it happened to land in McMillan's hand. You know, that's just how it goes. They lost that game. Yes.
Yeah, I think you're going to get in that direction right now. There's a lot of more issues going on before that play.
They lost that game because, unfortunately for them, for the first time in a few years, it fell on the quarterback. You know, it just did. And I have been the biggest Josh Allen defender. I can't stand when people give the narrative of, you know, there was no Mahomes, no Lamar, no Burrow. He absolutely has to be in the Super Bowl or he sucks. Like, there's just all the narratives that get put around him because he is an MVP and a superstar and all that. I've told you 1,000 times, he doesn't play defense. He doesn't make decisions as the head coach. He doesn't do all. There's so many things to a football game that fall on more than just the starting quarterback. Yes, he is the biggest part and the biggest piece of it all. This was the first game, Paulie, out of this run that I really walked away after it was over saying, man, Josh had a bad game. Yeah. And the crazy part is he had a bad game and they still lost by 3 in overtime. Like, it's still like he had a bad game, and it's not like he had a CJ Stroud type of bad, you know, and they lost by, and they were never in the game. You know, listen, Hugh will get to it. Houston hung around in that game despite Stroud looking completely inept. Mm-hmm. But what I'm saying is, you know, that play that Josh made at the end of the half, now you could say they should have never put the ball in his hands, McDermott, and they should have said, just take a knee and let's get in the locker room here, down a score, and we'll come out in the second half and regroup. With 16 seconds left and no timeouts, it was very silly to try to run around and make something happen. And you got a little bit of first and second year Josh on that play, trying to do a lot, and something catastrophic happens, and they hand Denver another 3 points. And the other thing that he did, aside from the turnovers, Paulie, was, you know, he missed some throws that he normally makes. Yeah. And whether you want to talk about, I think the one that's gotten kind of the most look was the throw to Knox right at the end of, I guess it was regulation when they kicked the field goal, you know, that, or it was it was when they kicked the field goal to tie the game at the end after Denver had taken the lead. They got into field goal range. Prater hit the 50-yarder. The play before that, he had Knox going into the end zone, or at least he would have been inside the 5, you know, somewhere in there. And he missed him. You know, he missed Hardman on a play in overtime that, you know, that was the third down before he threw the pick to Cooks. It's a throw that he normally makes. You know, the play to Shakir where he threw it at his feet before the field goal down there late in the fourth quarter. That to me, Paulie, was very eye-opening. And you're talking about a guy who's obviously been beaten around a lot heading into that game. You know, he's got foot injuries, shoulder injuries, back. He didn't have his best game. And that's the reason why, along with, once again, the defense giving up 30 points in a playoff game, which has happened a lot also. That's probably why I hate talking about refs. Were the calls bad at the end? The calls were bad. Allen was bad in the game, and he could have been better, and you're never in that position.
Yeah, it was so wild to see because, you know, the whole buildup to this was all the experience that he had. And then the game's playing, obviously leading into the Denver game, and figuring on if there was anybody who was going to be cool, calm, and collected and precise and in control, it was going to be Josh Allen. And he did it. And he did. He kind of came off like he was and I don't know if Denver really did so much to really put him off of his game. It just seemed like he was more of a younger quarterback, or kind of got a little spooked more, not protecting the ball like a veteran quarterback should, and that was kind of the weird thing. But, we're all human beings. It's mental, and, you can get thrown off for any reason. And unfortunately for Buffalo, despite, like I said, everything you just said before with the defense and the points and everything else, when you needed Josh Allen to be the guy in the cape that was all talked about going into this game, he left the cape at home.
He did, at the end. Look, he also did, Denver takes the lead with 57 seconds to go. He gets him down the field for the field goal to tie the game. I think that there are some things that
but he needed to be Superman the entire game.
But that's the problem. And that's why the Bills are in the position that they find themselves in now here on Wednesday, a few days later, looking for a new head coach. A lot of questions to be asked, because I think as great as a player as he is, it's unfair to put that much on his shoulders. And you even look at these guys that have won, Paulie. Look, they are all Hall of Fame, incredible players. Patrick Mahomes is unbelievable. He's an MVP. He's a multiple-time Super Bowl winner. He's everything. But if you look at all of these Super Bowls that the Chiefs have won since Mahomes has been there with Andy Reid, they have had other guys and other units on that team make key plays that helps them win games. And I just felt like it was too much put on his shoulders. And some will say, well, you're making excuses for him again. Okay, fine. The roster sucked. Okay, let's just get down to it. I mean, he was throwing to guys that weren't on teams 6 weeks ago. This is just, and Brandon Cooks, they got late November. He was his favorite target because he had the rest of nobody else could catch. Or, it's just, how much do you want him to do? And these games that they've lost in the playoffs, can the defense give up 14 points once? Can they give it every time? It's, 33-30, 42-35. It's like, can we have a game where the defense plays well in these elimination games for them? So it is what it is. And now,
that's, and that's a tough ask because, just for everybody, right? I mean, that's basically every team has to have everybody come together for the full 60, And then, but then again, you even look at them. I know we'll get into it too. You look at the college championship game on Monday night, and an offensive lineman taking an offsides there might have blew that whole thing. I mean, all these little things that it comes down to, and and I definitely want to hear about now your thoughts now with the coaching change in Buffalo and where it turns back with Josh Allen and the responsibility as an organization. Whether what they can do or they can do to put the proper pieces around Josh Allen going forward. And injuries play a part of this, I mean, that's nothing you can control about. But let me get your thoughts now, obviously on the change, and real quick before that, with the loss on Sunday, did Josh Allen have enough of the parts of the puzzle that he needed to surround him?
He didn't this year. I don't believe that he did. I think they got as far as they did because he dragged them there. And he made critical mistakes in that game against Denver. And with the way that his surrounding pieces were this year, he wasn't afforded the chance to make critical mistakes. And he made several critical mistakes, and yet they, like I say, I keep going back to it, yet they still had to go to overtime, 33-30, to lose the game in a heartbreaking fashion. And he made several critical mistakes in the game. Like, when you make several critical mistakes in a game as a quarterback, there's a good chance your team's going to get blown out. Like, they got no shot of being in it, and they were still there. But now let's get to the next part, which was Monday morning they fired McDermott.
Mm-hmm.
I have been very open with you and everybody else that I would not have had a problem if this was something that they were going to do.
Mm-hmm.
I think that McDermott has done an unbelievable job in Buffalo. He turned around the culture. They were an absolute laughingstock loser for 20 years before he got there, went through joke coach after laughable coach after just awful job coach. And he came in and he brought stability and he brought respect and he brought a culture to that franchise. And he should absolutely be applauded for doing that. And he got the Bills back to being a relevant team in this league. But at the end of the day, there's only so many bites you can get at the apple when you have a guy like Josh Allen. And I wouldn't have had any problem if they've changed coaches after the 13-second game 4 years ago. I would have had no problem doing that because he made such catastrophic mistakes in that game. They let him get several chances after that to still try and get the team to a Super Bowl. This might have been, Paulie, this year, the best coaching job he's done in Buffalo. But unfortunately for him, it all kind of gets melded together. And as one, solid thing, it's just year after year. How many times can you keep going to the same exact place and losing and banging your head against the wall? Yeah. Something has to change. And the old motto, you can't change the players. It's hard to do. You can obviously tinker and move some guys in and out, but at the end of the day, what's the one thing you can really change to try to shake up a team and try to get a different feeling in there? And that is the head coach. Now, I think that they did an awful job with how they've gone about this the past 48 hours.
Well, this is a Pagula-owned team.
Well, for the first time, and I think it was Tim Graham from The Athletic who tweeted this on Monday. He said, someone used to always ask me, why are the Bills run so much better than the Sabres? And Terry Pagula owns both teams. And Graham's response was, because he doesn't run the Bills like the Sabres. So that was the response as to why. And guess what,
wow.
Paul? You know what he's done the last 48 hours? He's ran the Bills like the Sabres the last 48 hours. And that's why I have no problem with firing Sean McDermott. And look, he did a lot of silly things at this press conference this morning, Terry Pagula. The one thing that I actually don't mind and respect is him saying, look, I was in that locker room on Saturday. I saw the hurt in our guys. And I just said to myself, he says he made the decision right there and then in Denver in the locker room that he was going to change coaches. And he said he felt it had run its course. And I don't disagree with him on that. But when you fire him on Monday morning, you can't put out a press release with spelling errors in it. You can't wait 36 hours to put up a thank you to a coach that was there for 9 years and brought you out of a 20-year drought. Like, I don't mind firing Sean McDermott. They've just done an awful job PR-wise, and then you promote the GM who allegedly, Bean and McDermott, hand in hand, both decision makers, both report to Pagula. You promote him to president of football operations at the same time that you're firing McDermott, basically saying it was all this guy's fault. All right. This guy, it's not him. I feel like he's given him a good enough roster, which is, horse, what?
Yeah.
That he did that. This is just not true. I mean, the roster wasn't good enough this year. So this guy gets a promotion. They don't thank the guy. They have misspellings in the press release. It was handled, Paulie, in such an awful way. And I was stunned that he took questions this morning. Terry Pagula has not spoken to the media since 2019.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It was the last time either franchise, talking Bills or Sabres, anything. And you know how bad the Sabres have been forever. Now I'm not going to say excuse or anything. They have had a serious family issue with his wife, Kim. She has been sick for a very long time. I am sure that, and he said that this morning, that is part of the reason why nobody has heard from him or gotten interviews from him. And I completely respect that.
Mm-hmm.
And to be quite honest with you, Paulie, after listening to me this morning, he probably should go back to not talking. To be quite honest, I think he should go back to not talking. He really was all over the place. He interrupted a couple of answers from Bean and kind of threw Bean under the bus. I mean, they're making such a big deal about this Keon Coleman draft pick. Like, who cares who was responsible for drafting Keon Coleman? I want to know, Paulie, where the franchise goes from here. That is what my concern is. I don't care who gets the blame for drafting a wide receiver who everyone thought was going to be the replacement for Stephon Diggs. Was it a massive miss? Yes, it was. But can we move forward? Who's going to be the coach? I mean, these names are very lukewarm to me in terms of who it's going to be. They're late in the process. Other guys have been hired already. There's just really bizarre how it's all kind of unraveling, Paul.
Yeah, which is doesn't help you and your fellow Bills fans to come down from such a depressing loss there, and obviously with the talk of maybe this being one of the best chances for the Bills to make a run for the championship this year, and now it's you have a new stadium next year. That's something to look forward to. But
new stadium,
it's a lot of work there, pal, and you're just going to have to. I mean, there's still enough talent there, I guess, as far as starting with Josh. I mean, they're not going to be a team that's not going to be considered as one of the favorites in the AFC next year. So it'll be interesting to see who they give the reins to, and with the talent they have there, maybe some adjustments. They'll still be. They're still going to be one of the best teams in the AFC as far as Josh is back there, regardless of the outcome on Sunday. You're still one of the top 5 teams in the league because you got one of the top 5 quarterbacks, in the league as well, taking the snaps for you. That
is what matters more than anything. Is as long as you have him, you have a shot. Now, obviously, Bean has got I think a lot more has now been put in his lap in terms of having to shape this roster, and he made it very clear this morning that the head coach is going to report to him. So we have a flip of what the prior deal was. McDermott and Bean both reported to Terry Pegula. Mm-hmm. They were very clear that whoever gets hired as the coach will be reporting to Brandon Bean. He is the czar now of Buffalo Bill football. And I think that the people have kind of gone to the quick notion that Brian Daboll is going to be the next head coach of the Buffalo Bills because he has that history with Josh Allen. He has that history in Buffalo. He is from Western New York. He understands the people there. He understands what it takes to win there. I get all of that, Paulie. I have a really hard time hiring a guy who just got fired going 20-40 as a head coach. That's a lot for me. Now, you could say that's not all on him. It's on the Giant. You can make the record is your record. He was 20-40-1 in 61 games as the Giant head coach. That's 20 games under 500. Like that's not, that doesn't scream run and go get this guy to take a team that's has won a playoff game in 6 straight years. They've not just been to the playoffs, won a playoff game in the last 6 years. Mm-hmm. This is a high pressure situation for whoever gets put into it. Because they just fired a guy who I just gave you the deal. I just gave you what he's been doing lately. So your expectations on what you need to do right out of the gate are going to be super high.
On that, Mike, real quick, do you feel at least McDermott should have got at least one more year?
No. I have no problem getting rid of McDermott. Okay. I really don't. I think they've botched how they've gotten rid of him. I don't, because they've kind of changed the narrative. I think a lot of people would have been fine if it just came down. I think the way they've gone about it has soured people. I'm still not going to change my stance. I think it is time for somebody new.
And maybe Pegula has to do this too with, I know he talked about, the moment in the locker room there, but obviously the availability of there's a pretty good talent pool that's out there right now looking for work.
Yeah, look, there absolutely is. And I don't know what the right way to go is here for them. Like, is it going to be one of Allen's guys that he's familiar with, whether that's Joe Brady, or Brian Daboll? I've heard Davis Webb, who's the Bronco quarterback coach, thrown around a lot. I don't know. do you really want to put some young offensive wizard whiz kid in there who's never been a head coach before? Also, though I've seen some of those names, the guy in Jacksonville or Kubiak with Seattle.
I'm laughing at myself here because all the pundits talking about Rex Ryan coming back.
Well, that he ain't coming back to Buffalo. I can tell you that. That is not gonna be. He's not gonna be coming back to Buffalo. That I can tell you right there. I don't know, Paulie. I don't know where I would prefer somebody like. I feel like you want somebody established who can cross the line with him and somebody who's won, but those guys are gone now. Harbaugh's gone, and it sounds like McCarthy's going to go to Pittsburgh. I'm not saying I would want him anyway, but this is going to be a tough spot for whoever gets it. And they probably are going to go the safe route. And I think the safe route is Brian Daboll, but I wouldn't feel great about it with how he was with the Giants.
Well, if they got directly report to Bagula now, I mean, they're gonna have to probably get a yes man in there.
Yeah,
it's frustrating.
I don't know. It's I'm interested to see. I know the other names they had out there today. I'm really not. You can't hire a defensive coach again. I think that if you're hiring a brand new coach, it's somebody with offensive background to work with Allen.
Mm-hmm.
Lou Amaruno, defensive coordinator for the Colts. Come on. You can't make him the head coach of the Buffalo Bills. You got to have, if you're hiring someone for their first time as a head coach, it's got to be one of these young wonder kid whiz kids from the Sean McVay, Kevin O'Connell tree. The other young offensive whiz kids in the league. I think that's probably, Paulie, where I would go. So maybe that's the Jacksonville kid, Udoozy, whatever his name is. That guy. Maybe he's the guy. It's a big risk, but it could be a big reward.
Do you think it's going to happen sooner than later? You think it's going to be a
quick
fire?
No. I think that this is one that's going to drag out because the other problem is if there's anyone they want from the 4 teams that are still playing, so that would include Kubiak from Seattle, Davis Webb with Denver, etc. They now, because you're so deep into the playoffs, Paulie, they can't talk to those people until they're eliminated.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they've even gotten rid of, if a team makes a Super Bowl, you can't interview in a bye week. I think they've even gotten rid of that. Too. I would have to double check that, but I'm pretty sure. So they can't talk to anyone now that's with those 4 teams. Now, obviously, if whoever loses on Sunday, those teams would open up. But I would think that this is going to be a little bit because also a lot of the other pieces are in place with these other teams. So they might have the advantage, Paulie, of maybe being the only team still with an opening and knowing who's on the board for them and what pieces are there. So not easy, but the Bills move on. Other stuff from the weekend. Actually, you know what, Paulie? Let's break the actual games down. Why don't you tell everybody what's going on? Carver and Cuthbert, Go Sports Radio. Obviously, Borelli's Tap Room in Long Beach on the island. Paulie there today. Me home. Little Willie sick. So Paulie's still holding it down at Borelli's, and he's going to let everybody know what's going on there in the next couple of days and weeks.
All right. As always, we are broadcasting live from Borelli's Tap Room in Long Beach on 912 West Beach Street. Come on down any day of the week and mention the Carver and Cuthbert podcast, and you get a free Miller draft. All right. It's the only place you can do that in Long Beach. Just walk in, mention us, and you get a free beer. It's pretty cool stuff. All right. Live music, comedy, all good stuff going on here around the great, Wood Brick Oven Pizza here and the great menu here and the drink specials here. Tonight, return of Theme Music Wednesdays. Billy Joel night here tonight. Songs from an Italian restaurant. Free admission, $21 pasta dinner special, half-price bottles of wine, and the great sounds of Billy Joel. This weekend, live music Saturday has Evan Carriga coming in here at 7 p.m. on Saturday. And the reason we don't have anything going on Friday, there's a private event here on Friday at Borelli. So day off here for Borelli's for the public here, as far as that's concerned. On Sunday, the Atlantico band will be playing live here, and that should be around 5 p.m. And with probably most likely some DJ music after that. So in and around all the sports, the basketball and the football and everything else, we got some live music for you this weekend. Comedy night returns next week, and that's next Tuesday with Joe List. Limited tickets available for that. As always, go to eventbrite.com, search Burley's Tap Room, Burley's Comedy, or go to burleystaproom.com, and you can get all the links for all the information. Again, that's Joe List here next Tuesday, January 27th, and the debut of Sinatra Serenade, Wednesday live music theme, will be here next Wednesday. Great dinner specials too. Also, half-price bottles of wine, $10 specials on signature Frank Sinatra drinks that he used to love. And there's also going to be a custom signature menu that were also Frank Sinatra's favorites. So great vibes here next week. Sinatra Serenade debuts next week. And that's what's going on at Pirelli's between now and next Wednesday. There you go.
That is awesome. Getting involved. Billy Joel night tonight. Bottle of red.
There you go,
bottle of white. Yes. Let's go. Carver and Cuthbert Go Sports Radio. Paulie at Borelli's today, as we are moving back at Borelli's tomorrow. As always, noon East for us. All right, the actual games, Paulie, let's do it. So off of the Denver win was obviously them losing their quarterback for the game this week with Bo Nix.
Unbelievable.
Fracturing his ankle in the second to last play of the game, which means, and this is like bizarre stuff because this is a little unprecedented. You have got a guy who is going to start the AFC Championship game this Sunday in Jarrett Stidham, who didn't take a snap this year. That is an extremely – it's not even like the guy got hurt early in the game and Stidham came in and got some work and led him to a win. Cold, Paulie. No snap. In fact, he hasn't taken a snap in 2 years, Jarrett Stidham, in a game, or thrown a pass, I should say. He came in and took some knees at one game earlier this year. But
the Lord works in mysterious ways, my friends.
Jarrett Stidham, and he's doing it against the team that drafted him in the Patriots. He's going to play them in Mile High. That's the first game on Sunday. What a win, for Denver, getting through all these things, the nonsense, the officials and the Bills, all that. Yeah. Denver going to the game. It sucks for Bo Nix. That is just awful that he's not going to get to play in it. Peyton.
I mean, just seeing Peyton in the post game presser. I mean, he just looked shell shocked. It was unbelievable.
Yes.
It's like, hey, we're going to the championship game, and by the way, we've just lost.
By the way, we lost
our quarterback.
But it seems like he's got, and he's got to kind of elude this. He seems like he's got some faith and some confidence in Stidham. I mean, he's not going to tell you the guy sucks and we're screwed. So I mean, he's got to give you a little bit of that. Mm-hmm. The Patriots, on the other hand, Paulie, of course, took care of business against the Texans on Sunday. And again, a game that the starting quarterback for Houston torpedoed them in the game. He was completely awful. I thought that New England was there to be had in the game. I didn't think that they played a great game offensively. Drake May and the crew. I mean, part of that is obviously how good the Houston defense is, but Stroud completely sandbagged them in that game. Now, they only scored, it's kind of weird. You would think 5-6 turnovers, they would have got blown out, but the Houston defense, Paulie, did such a good job that really it was just the pick six was the only one that they scored on. The Houston D was holding the fort.
Yeah.
But it just, they had nothing offensively, Houston. They just couldn't do anything.
What is, I mean, that's really 2 weeks in a row with Stroud here. What does Houston do? How do they reevaluate him and going forward? I mean, as far as, their confidence in him, I mean, that's pretty tough. Those two performances, especially with all the work that the defense had to do.
I am stunned he didn't go to Davis Mills at halftime. And I know Davis Mills is not, Frank Reich or Jeff Hostetler for all your older fans out there.
Very good.
But he was so bad in that first half, and it didn't really get much better in the second. I would have went to Mills and at least tried something different in the second half. So that was a little surprising to me that DeMeco Ryans did that. Stroud's got a lot to think about. He's a guy, Paulie, that he was very loud in the offseason last year, kind of pumping himself up, which guys, they should do that, but he was pumping himself up that he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL and he had 2 really bad games.
Yes, he did.
His defense bailed him out in the Pittsburgh game on Monday night, and his defense just couldn't bail him out in this game against New England. So it's going to be a long offseason, Paulie, for Stroud with things that he needs to work on. But New England moves on. They'll face Stidham. Game's in Denver. That's the first game on Sunday. Obviously, tomorrow we'll do more of the who you got, but a fascinating game because there is a giant unknown element being put in it with Stidham, a guy, people talk about him like he's up to the challenge for this. But
when's the last time he took a snap?
Of like a snap that mattered 2 years ago. Snap that mattered 2 years ago. And he's starting the AFC Championship game.
Crazy.
It's wild. It's really wild. And I'm looking forward to it. I'll give you a little hint for tomorrow. I'll drop some breadcrumbs here. I think that they're going to have a chance to win this game with him. I really do. Now, some would tell me you're a New England hater and you don't like the Patriots and you're just trying to That might be true. Especially in terms of the spread, Paulie, I think that Denver is not getting blown out in this game. Now, their defense is not as great as everybody thinks it is. You saw that on Saturday against the Bills. Like, you can move the football against that Denver D. And that's going to be, I think that Drake May is going to be able to do that. But I also think that Stidham, he's not going to look like a complete hack. I think he's going to go in there and play well.
Well, it's not beyond it's not beyond the history of the NFL for a guy to have like an amazing performance. I mean,
no,
it is going to be a great watch, or it could be an absolute terrible watch. You know that, right? It all depends on what goes on, and I guess the average person like me will probably just turn around and say, oh, "Look, all he's got to do is hand the ball off, and hopefully they can just hold May off defensively."
Yeah, I think they're going to play well in the game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any estimation. I think that Stidham is going to show up.
I'm very interested in hearing your pick tomorrow, my friends.
Well, we'll see tomorrow on who you got for the Denver-New England AFC title game. All right, on the NFC side of things, it was an absolute smash job by the Seahawks on Saturday night.
Yeah.
Smash job. I mean, they were so bad, the Niners. So bad. And really caught up to them, I guess, some of the injuries and whatnot. But you knew from the jump when Shaheed takes that kickoff return for a touchdown, it's 7-0 out of the gate. I think it was a really quick either 3-and-out or another turnover, and they were right back down the field again. It just really snowballed quickly. And Sam Darnold, who everybody kind of thought was compromised going into the game with this oblique injury, you never really got a chance to put him in any kind of stress or any kind of position of seeing if he was compromised, because all he had to do once they built an early 10, 13-point lead was he just handed off, and Kenneth Walker went wild after Charbonnet got hurt. He had 3 touchdowns. It was just snowball for the Niners, Paulie. Finished quick.
Yeah, absolute shock to see a professional football team just not be prepared for that type of a game, to give up that many points and to just not show Purdy. None of the guys, McCaffrey, just not making an impact. Your impact players just not making an impact in the game. Obviously the week before I had felt that the Niners were going to go in there and play them well offensively. I thought that was going to be their strong side, and figuring, yes, they had to tighten things up defensively. And man, it all fell apart on both ends of the line. And look, I got to tell you, man, I can't take away any full credit from the Seattle Seahawks, their organization, and they just continue to steamroll on here. And maybe they are considered the favorites going into this whole thing now. With the way they've been playing on both sides, and I think that was a huge message, the way they pummeled the Niners, and make you go, wow. So it'll be interesting. Obviously, the Rams, we'll talk about that a little bit too. But, man, just as far as that game is concerned, incredibly impressed with the Seahawks. And congrats to them. And looking forward to seeing, how they do next weekend and if they get into the big dance.
Yeah. And as you mentioned, the Rams, so the 2 great games were the bookend games. The first game Saturday and then the last game on Sunday, the 2 overtime games. And the Rams go into Chicago. Wild game.
Wow, unbelievable.
McVay did a lot of strange stuff, and I give McVay credit. He even said after the game, I did an awful job coaching tonight, and the guys bailed me out. You had Caleb Williams with the miracle floater to Kmet in the end zone to tie the game at the end of regulation. Really, both teams had opportunities in overtime to go and win the game, and then the Rams finally do. Classic game, Paulie.
Yeah.
And the Bears, they almost pulled it off again, and it was just a little bit too much for them. The Rams are just a little bit too better for them.
Yeah, I mean, when he makes that final, tie-in touchdown again, we've been watching the Bears do this, right? Week in, week out, and you're just sitting here going, all right, this is destiny. They got whatever power sources out there behind them. There's just no chance. I mean, just the amazement of and we've talked about it here, the luck, but the individual performances, the athletic performances by, the guys on the squad, Williams and his receivers, and making this thing happen. And just, you're sitting there going, there's no way they can't lose. Nobody can beat them. Every time they're about to be out, this is what happens. And you could see it in McVay and the Rams and Stafford and stuff. But this is, I guess this is where the difference plays in when you have experienced guys, and the whole Colt thing went out the window. As far as the Rams as a team, they were just fantastic. And at the end of the day, it was a business-like playoff win for a very experienced Ram team that rightfully so is going to be the better matchup against the Seahawks.
Yeah, look, you get round 3 of Rams Seahawks, and the first 2 games were great. You had a lower scoring, tight game in LA earlier in the season where Darnold threw, I think it was 4 picks in that game, but they still had a chance to win it with a field goal at the end. You had the game in the Thursday night game late in the season in Seattle, which was that crazy game, Paulie, with that wild 2-point conversion play.
Mm-hmm.
And the Seahawks came back from, what were they down, 16 in that game, or 14 or 16 they came back from down and won it. So it was this is great, round 3 between these two. It's the late game too, which is awesome in Seattle. I think I like when the better game is second on Championship Sunday, and I think you have that here with Rams and Seahawks. So this is a heavyweight fight, and the winner of this game will be the considerable favorite, Paulie, in the Super
Absolutely.
Bowl, no matter who they play, honestly. I think even over New England now.
Unless somebody breaks their ankle at the end of the game,
Well, that's something that you never know.
Yeah, but I agree with you. I agree with you. Whoever comes out on Rams Seahawks is definitely favored for the whoever if it's Denver or
significant. I feel, and the look ahead line's like 3.5 for the Rams or the Seahawks over the Patriots. So that's not really significant, you could say, but I think that those things can change depending on how the game goes on Sunday too. If it's a blowout win for one of them and they show even more power, then that number is going to get a little bit bigger. So really fun. Looking forward to who you got tomorrow with the Rams and the Seahawks for the end. We're running out of almost our football who you got. It's just about it. 3 games left.
Yeah, well,
it's almost over.
I'm really sad the college who you got is over, man.
Well, let me tell you. Let's go to that next. The Indiana-Miami game on Monday night. Now, I don't like that it takes 2 years to finish the season. I would prefer that they found a better schedule and they played every Saturday in December, and maybe they finished it by, New Year's Day or January 10th. I feel like all the time off. I felt this last year too when there was so much time off for the Notre Dame-Ohio State game. I think they lose some momentum with waiting so long to play these games. And it's just I feel like college was out of everyone's mind. But the game was awesome.
Yes, it was.
Between the two. It was worth the wait. And it kind of played out. I thought it was going to, I think I said to you last week, and we had the clip that you put up, I thought it was going to go one of 2 ways. I thought either Indiana was going to maul them and they were going to crush them like they have everybody else, or this game was going to be tight and in the 20s and Miami was going to have a chance to win but maybe come up short. And that's exactly what we got. I thought Cignetti did it. Listen, it is without question in my eyes maybe the greatest coaching job in any North American sport. It's just that what he did in 2 years at Indiana. This is a team, Paulie. Forget national championships. They won like 2 bowl games, period, in 60 years. This is Indiana Hoosier football. This is a basketball school. Bobby Knight, the whole deal. Cignetti shows up and in 2 seasons goes 16-0 and wins a national championship It is one of the most unbelievable comeback stories, coaching jobs, whatever you want to call it. I don't think it's bigger than when you had Leicester City win the Premier League. And I know we're expanding things out. A lot of people don't care about soccer or European soccer. That is the biggest upset ever. They were 5,000 to 1 to win the Premier League that season when it started. Indiana was 100 to 1 to win the cup. Think about that. 5,000 to 1 Leicester City was. Indiana 100. But that's still one of the biggest out of nowhere upsets ever that Cignetti went undefeated and got a national championship there.
And I guess, the other thing too is, and maybe you can kind of just remind everybody too, as far as the schedule that they played, the competition that they were up against, the games that they had to win to get into the championship. So it's almost like, it's not like it was a cakewalk for Indiana either, is what I'm trying to
allude
to.
No, it was not. It definitely not in that game. And look, I thought that Miami did, that for the first time, definitely in the playoff and maybe all year, you saw a team that got in Mendoza's kitchen, and they were hitting Mendoza and they were knocking him down. I know, Cignetti at the halftime interview was saying how, they didn't call it. And I thought there was a couple that could have been flagged. Some of those hits, those late hits that they got Mendoza with. Miami was physical with him. They wanted to knock him around, and that was a key. And I give the kid some credit. He got up and he kept playing. That was an incredible touchdown he had at the end. I didn't think he was, Joe Burrow, like when with LSU won that year, and I've heard people compare their dominance. I thought that LSU team was light years better. They had more talent. Burrow was better than Mendoza, but Mendoza was very good, and you saw him get knocked around in Miami. Cristobal, for all of his faults, he did a good job on Monday night, and he just came up a little short. And the thing that was the most surprising to me was that Cignetti gave them a chance. I thought he would have went for it up 3 and I thought he would go for the kill and get the first down and end the game. And he kicked to put them up 6. And that's always very dangerous, Paulie, because, now you can lose. Touchdown in the next, you can lose that game by 1.
Well, don't forget too, that was the offensive lineman had the offsides there too. That kind of blew that whole plan up there at the end. So.
Yep. And look, Beck, that was an awful throw on the interception to end the game. He had that guy. If he pushes that out into the corner, I know that this is like film junkie stuff, but he had that guy was breaking, and it was an awful throw by Beck to finish that game off. They had a chance. That's all you can ask for. They had an opportunity to win the game.
Look, the other big thing was the block punt. I mean, that was that block punt for a touchdown was huge. It was massive because that puts Miami in a different situation. And maybe if Indiana doesn't block that punt and get the touchdown there, maybe Miami wins this game. As far as the way it played out. But getting back to what you were saying before, and when we were talking about it last week, and we talked about because you were raving about the offensive line, and man, there's some big guys on that Miami offensive line, and they got to Mendoza early. You could watch it, but man, fair play to Fernando, man. He hung in there, and this was a side of us that we all got to see. Could he handle it? And he handled it. He was tough. And even, obviously the big touchdown he made too, but he didn't fall apart. He didn't get razzled. He didn't, and when you look at say a pro like CJ Stroud, right? And then you look at say Josh Allen, his uncanniness in that big game. And here you have this young kid, in the championship, and man, he's getting beat up. This is the first time in a long time. The other team is getting to him. They're putting the pressure on him. And he just stayed steadfast and smart. And I tell you what, man, what a great look for all of us as football fans, admiring this kid, going to be the first round draft pick. And now even more exciting to see this guy play in the NFL, because I felt that game the other night showed that he is tough, and because he's smart and he can run a game. And he's going to be a great kid for any franchise, right? So awesome. Real quick, just a fantastic game. Loved every minute of it. Loved the matchups, Cignetti and Cristobal. Loved Beck and Fernando going forward. The running backs, both lines on both sides. You
Fletcher
had
was great.
everything.
Yeah.
It was just great to watch and loved every second of it. And like I said, college football season is over. That's the only sad side of it. But we got another great game to end the year, and I'm just happy for that. It was awesome.
All thing I'll say off of that is Mendoza's going to have to be tough if he's going to the Raiders. All right,
he's just going to have to be tough to be in the NFL.
Physically and mentally, you're gonna be tough to go to that place because there is
probably more mentally, pal.
It's very possible, and they had all their contingent there on Monday night. Mark Davis, Tom Brady, Spytek, everybody was there watching Mendoza on Monday night in that game. And
a little nauseating, Mike. A little nauseating.
Was it? It was a little nauseating with Tom out there, huh? And Tom Brady. There you go for Fernando Mendoza getting involved. End of the college season. All right, a few other things for you before we get out of here. Strangers the last couple nights out in California. They're on the California trip right now. Not great. They had a chance last night against the Kings, so they were down 4-2 going in the third, and Miller got it close, but it just hasn't gone well for them. They thumped the Flyers on Saturday afternoon. But
that was, game one, post the second letter.
Yeah, the letter.
Look, Philly's not a good team.
We haven't been here since the letter, right? Is this our first time together since the letter?
Yeah, this is the first time since my conspiracy on Thursday, then the letter
was proven true.
Yeah, and then obviously all the news and the haha this, that, and everything. So they win 5-3 against the Flyers on Saturday, who are not a good team. And now they're on this West Coast trip. And, Vancouver and LA out of the gate, right? Yeah, so.
Anaheim.
I'm sorry. Oh, my God. How could I forget that? We had the game. I was actually down here, Borelli's, watching the championship game, and we did have the Ducks game. But I was so focused on the football, I forgot that they were playing the Ducks. Yeah. What are you going to do? I mean, I don't think anybody should expect anything from this team going forward. I mean, their coach has already said they're a fragile group. The letters come out now. They're 10 points out of a wild card playoff game.
The gap's gotten bigger. Yeah. The gap's gotten bigger.
They're missing Chesty. They're missing Foxy. You got a team now that most of the top guys up here, like I said, probably JT Miller's not going anywhere. It's going to be tough to move Zibanejad, whether or not he's going to move, but it looks like everybody else is free game between Schneider and Lafreniere, and Panarin knows he's not re-signing. So, the fact that they're out there playing and getting a couple of goals and everything else and so on and so forth. And again, they're not an exciting team. They're not very fun to watch as far as I'm concerned. They're hurting, in the nets right now. And I just don't expect too much. So I think the only thing the Ranger fans can look forward to right now is real quick, with 10 points out of a wild card spot, move these guys, get them out of here quickly. Yeah. Maybe even before the Olympic break, because other than that, and we joked that, the watered down league, everybody can make the playoffs. The Rangers are not making the playoffs with the way they are right now. So they talk about retool. It would have to be one hell of a retool in terms of getting some decent guys back here. Look, there's some good young prospects on this team. Peralt, Lala, all that stuff. There's some good kids to kind of look forward to here. But they've got to move. Drury's now got to walk the walk after this letter and push these guys and get it done. And we'll go from there. And that's it, man. Like I said, I'd rather spend more time talking about the Sabres and the Islanders right now as far as New York hockey.
Well, Islanders finish a very long 7-game trip tonight in Seattle against the Kraken. A little national TV game for the Islanders tonight. That's on TNT, actually, nice. at 9:30 East. Or believe me, if that's
everybody going to get a look.
If TNT is telling you the game's at 9:30, that means about 9:55 is when they'll actually start that game. But either way, Islanders in Seattle, they've gotten points in 4 out of the 6 games on this trip. They've won 3 of them outright, including the other night in Vancouver. They've played very well. The 1-0 win over the Oilers last Thursday night was a very impressive win where they held on for dear life and got it done. Them coming back from this trip, really, Paulie, in the same place they were when they left it, which is second in the Metro. That is a hell of a job by them, because that usually, these East Coast teams, when you go on these long West Coast trips, it can bring you down a little bit. And for them to be right where they left that is an excellent job by Wah and everybody else that's involved there with the Isles, because now they have what's usually the payoff, Paulie, when you play a long West Coast trip like that. You usually got a lot of time at home after. And the Islanders, up through the Olympic break now, they have a lot of time at home. I know they have a home and home next week with the Rangers, right? Next Wednesday and Thursday, Islanders, Rangers, back-to-back, Garden and UBS. So we'll have some fun with that here on the show next Wednesday and Thursday.
Big chance for the Islanders to just put a cannonball and sink the Rangers.
Well, look, they're playing they play the Sabres Saturday when they come home. That's their first game back. They play the Flyers, Rangers, Predators. These are games, especially at home. They don't know how to travel. This is a chance for them to do some damage here.
Well, let's look at the Islanders just in general right now, Michael. They are in a conference that's you're gonna get 8 playoff teams to come out of, right? And you look at where they're sitting right now, and they've been able to maintain. They haven't dipped, they haven't dropped off. Now they strung out all those wins. Sorokin is playing fantastic. Raw's got a good system going here. There's a great combination with the youth and the veterans on this team. Everybody's picking themselves up. They're getting off in all different lines here. They're stepping up for each other. They're becoming a very good hockey team, which, as far as I'm concerned, in the National Hockey League today, they are a team that, as far as I'm concerned, is going to maintain and secure a playoff spot in the Eastern Conference. Okay. And that is very good right now for where they're at right now, leading into this stretch, coming off this road trip, where they're headed right now. And then obviously the Olympic break coming up. The Islanders are in a good situation. The division, their division is weak. And they're playing good, pretty balanced hockey, which is something that, the Islanders in the last few years has been very difficult for them to, maintain, because they've tailed off one way or the other. They've come up and then they've really sunk down, dug themselves a hole that's been too hard to get out of it. I don't see that in this kind of team. Schaefer's made a huge impact, obviously, and I think more than anything, he's affected guys like, Barzell, and then Hyman's just playing fantastic. So there's a lot of bright spots here. And with the new GM and Raw now coming back, settling back in as an NHL coach, he's a different back in the day. He's more fine-tuned. And I think that's a really big thing, too, looking from the outside as a Rangers fan, too. They've got a hell of a great, head coach right now who's doing a really good job with the team and the assets that he has.
He really is. Incredible job. I think that he should get, honestly, some consideration for the Jack Adams with the job that he has done with the Islanders this year. I know that there's a lot of really good candidates for that, especially when you have a team that might get like 150 points this year with Colorado. I'm sure that Bednar is going to get a lot of consideration for it, and some other teams that have done incredible jobs. But Wah should absolutely be in the conversation for what he's done this year with that team. I will give you this for tonight as well. Knicks and Nets tonight at the Garden. So Knicks Nets this evening. And the Knicks, Paulie, they have now lost 4 in a row, 5 out of 6. They got completely blasted by Dallas on Monday afternoon, late afternoon. It was like a 5 o'clock tip. And they got destroyed in that game. Like, the final score doesn't even do it justice. I mean, they lost by 17. They were down 30 at some point in that game. Now you get little brother across the river coming to you, the Nets, who I will tell you, they have played better. Now, look, they're 12-29. I understand that. They stink. But they've been better over the last month. I know it's hard to say that when your team has a record that poorly. Mm-hmm. But the Knicks got out to such a great start. They won the dopey NBA Cup. And now they've really, I don't know if it's just middle of the year kind of stalling out, because the NBA is the type of league where guys do maybe throttle down at points in the middle of the year, and then they try to ramp it back up once you get to March, April.
That argument's tough when you have other top teams that are doing it. They're maintaining it.
Right. I mean, because right now they're third in the East. So Boston's past them. They're a game and a half back of Boston for second in the East. Detroit's obviously got a pretty good run out there. They're 31-10. Interesting to see if tonight the Knicks, with the Nets in their building, kind of get themselves back on track a little bit or if they screw around with them and mess around tonight. Will they come out? Because they're a much better team. They should blast the Nets on their home floor. And I'm interested. I think it's an interesting game tonight in terms of where the Knicks have been and how poorly they've been playing.
Yeah, and I think what makes it even more interesting here is Coach Mike Brown. And this is probably his first major slump here.
Some already want him fired.
Well, if they go down tonight, man, and this 4-game turns into 5, 6, 7, or they maybe they win one and then they lose another 3 or 4.
Yeah.
I think it gets a little tight for Coach Brown.
Look, remember we said this a lot. A lot of people said it last summer. You take a big risk when you're firing a coach off of a trip to the Eastern Conference Finals. You fired Thibodeau off of a very deep run, the deepest run you've had in forever.
Mm-hmm.
It's not at all similar. It's a little similar, Paulie, to, the Bills are taking a big risk firing McDermott off of being where they are every single year to ask the next guy to do that. This is similar to what the Knicks did. You're coming off a year where you made the East Finals. You have a lot of pieces. It's a big ask for Mike Brown to get at minimum back to where they just were. And they've hit a little bit of a slide here right now in mid to late January. But you'd think that they have the right team and the right motivation tonight to at least go and kind of turn that around a little bit.
Give at least one half of the Madison Square Garden season ticket holders something to freaking cheer about with all the freaking money. All the fans, the Rangers and Knicks fans, got to drop to go in and see these squads, man.
They don't have it with the Rangers, I'll tell you that. They certainly don't have much to cheer about when the Rangers are home.
No, they don't.
It's been a tough scene for Ranger hockey.
Yeah, I know. It breaks your heart, man. It breaks your heart over there.
It's tough, You want everybody. It's tough. You want to be able to give big showing for the home fans, but they're just not going to be able to do it. Olympic break around the corner. Maybe everybody will. Olympic break, NBA All-Star break feels like it's like 2 weeks long too. So the Garden will have a little bit of time there, Paulie, to maybe get warmed back up before the spring and the playoffs.
Hey, real quick, we weren't on the air since, but the Mets picking up Bo Bichette here and getting this kid from Chicago. So does that mean maybe we're getting
Louis Robert?
Does that mean Belly's staying with us?
Look, I thought the Mets. Clearly, they thought they were getting Kyle Tucker. I think they clearly thought they were getting Kyle Tucker, and whatever happened there happened, and he got offered a couple dollars more from the Dodgers. Who doesn't? And he went and took that. I don't really blame him for it. I give the Mets credit for a fairly quick pivot off of that to getting Bichette, who sounded like he was moments away from maybe going to Philadelphia. Which would have been, you're not only do you get him, you're taking him away from a rival of yours, which is a big deal. I like Bo Bichette a lot. I think he's a tough, gritty player. He gets hurt a lot, and that's something that you got to deal with too. And Toronto had to deal with that obviously in the playoffs this past October.
That knee is not in good shape.
I think you're going to be playing him, in a position that he's never played before. If he's going to play third base, which not saying he can't do it, but. That's something else that you're adding into the mix. But I like him a lot as a player. And it seems to me that one of their main goals this offseason was changing the culture in their clubhouse. And they have sent out a lot of guys who were there for a very long time, whether that's Alonso and Nimmo and McNeil and guys that were in there. And now you're bringing in somebody like Bichette, who everybody seems to say is a tremendous glue guy, tremendous clubhouse guy. So, as far as Luis Robert, I think it's worth the gamble. He's got two major problems. He never plays either. He's always hurt, and he strikes out like 80% of the time. Like he's today's typical major league hitter, where he might hit you 35 homers this year, but he might hit 180 and strike out 250 times while he's doing it. So. He's a talented kid. He can play center field. He can play an outfield for them. He can hit for power, but he ain't gonna strike out a lot. So just that's maybe the Mets have all their gurus in there that will work with him on that, and maybe make him a little bit more selective at the plate. I'm not gonna lie. I wouldn't have had a problem if the Yankees took a chance on him. I wouldn't
Yeah.
have minded if he was there. But just God, I wouldn't mind if the Yankees did anything at this point with the way that they've gone. But and just as a sidebar off of this, Paulie, it sounds like that the Tucker thing has broken everybody around baseball, and that all these signings that they've had the last few years, this is the one that the straw that broke the camel's back. That now everyone in baseball is going to want a salary cap now after the Dodgers signing Kyle Tucker. That's
You mean short term and big buckets is no bueno?
Yeah.
That's what's going to move the needle here.
Yeah, we'll see. We shall see with it.
Hey, buddy, before we go, can I got to give a shout out to interim manager Paul Carrick and my Manchester United.
Wow, what a win.
For beating City, and for a short time now, at least Manchester is red one more time. A lot of changes there, obviously, with Ruben being fired and everything else, but that was old time Man U soccer there on Sunday, and really.
Man, this City team's just not the same as the last few years either. City's not at their usual.
Hey, look, we're just trying to get back in the top 4 so we can get the European.
I know. Getting back in the Champions League would be a massive win for Manchester United if they could somehow. But I saw City even lost yesterday. They lose to some Norwegian team or something in the Champions League yesterday.
The only time they lost City is when they play United. Otherwise, I have no interest.
All right, Paulie, great job today. I am hoping I'm back with you tomorrow at Borelli's,
man. We got to do it like this. It's all good. We made it work, man. It's
Hopefully,
all good.
I'm back at Borelli's with you tomorrow. We'll see how little Willie does over the next.
Give him our best, pal.
See if he gets back to school tomorrow. I hope that he does, because as you know, when they stay home from school, you're banging your head against the wall most of the day. But great job by you. One more time, Paulie. Give Borelli's out because they got good stuff tonight and coming up here. Give it one more time before we go.
All right. Music theme nights return here at Borelli's this evening. It's Billy Joel. Songs from an Italian restaurant tonight. Free admission. $21 pasta special. Half price bottles on wine. And the rest of their great menu. It starts at 7 o'clock. No charge. No events here on Friday. The place is closed for a private event. This Saturday, live music returns with Evan Kariga at 7 p.m. On Sunday, the Atlantico Band is going to be in here, in and around all the great sports and everything else. And by the way, shout out to BT was here last week too. Big St. John's watch party. It was a huge success. And it was great to have BT here in the house at Borelli's. Next week, comedy series continues here at Borelli's with Joe List on Tuesday night. Limited tickets left. Go to Borelli'sTaproom.com or Eventbrite and search Borelli's Taproom Comedy for remaining tickets. And the debut next week, again on Wednesday music theme nights, Sinatra Serenade. Again, free admission. Great dinner specials, signature drinks. Frankie had $10 signature drinks, half price bottles of wine. Follow at Borelli's Long Beach on Instagram for all the updates in terms of the specials for that. So that's what's going on in and around all the sports TVs, the great craft beer selections, Woodbrook Oven Pizza, and everything else.
Well, before we leave, I got breaking news for you.
Oh, I love it when you have breaking news. I hope it's good.
Breaking news during the show, and it's fitting that we were just talking baseball. Because it is breaking news. Now, I like playing this game with you. We did this the time that Pete Alonso signed with Baltimore. It is a local. It is breaking news with a local baseball team. We do have some here.
So it's got to be the Mets, right? Since the Yankees aren't doing anything.
Believe it or not, it's the Yankees.
Get out. All right, give it to me, pal.
They bring back Cody Bellinger after weeks and weeks and weeks of back and forth. The reports were that he wanted 7 years. He wanted this. He wanted that. It looks like Cody Bellinger's deal with the Yankees is for 5 years. So the Yankees did not cave for the 7, but he is back in the Bronx, Paulie.
I like
Cody
it.
Bellinger back with the Yankees. I like it too, especially for 5. I thought 7 was stupid.
Yep.
I mean, I think 5's maybe even enough, but they needed to bring him back with considering they've done 0. They had to bring Cody Bellinger back. So back in the Bronx, Paulie. Cody Bellinger.
Love it. Love Cody. 1 year just would have hurt too much seeing him gone. So I like it. Plus, we spent money on a Bellinger jersey for my son, so now we know.
Oh, good. Now you got 5 years worth of worth out of it, buddy. You're good. You're good. You can wear that one to the Bronx this year when you guys go. You can keep the Bellinger jersey on. That's
good. My little guy probably, he probably knows right now, or he doesn't know, but he'll be excited and happy that Cody's coming back.
Yes,
good stuff. All right, man. All is right in the Bronx. We're good.
We'll see about that going forward. All right. We'll be back tomorrow. Go Sports Radio, Carver and Cuthbert from Borelli's Tap Room in Long Beach on the island. We will do the Who You Got for the AFC and the NFC championship game. And we have a few other things that I left out today that I wanted to save for tomorrow, including some very interesting comments from Robert Kraft, the owner of the New England Patriots. We will do that tomorrow, talking about future of the NFL and other things. So we have lots of stuff on tap tomorrow for Go Sports Radio at Borelli's. Paulie, great job as always. I will see you maybe in person tomorrow there. Go Sports Radio. Have a good night.